We are here today again with an exciting topic that is happening in our neighborhood. Nepal stands at crucial crossroads where the resurgence of monarchy and the growing demand for a Hindu nation are reshaping the political landscape. Once the world's only Hindu kingdom, Nepal abolished its monarchy in 2008 and transitioned into a secular republic. However, rising dissatisfaction with the current political system, economic instability, and increasing influence of external forces have reignited debates on whether Nepal should restore its monarchy and reclaim its Hindu identity. Is this a call for cultural revival, or is it driven by deeper political and social undercurrents? To decode this issue, we are here again with Dr. Adityanjee, who is going to share his experience and his knowledge about the political affairs in the neighborhood. Dr. Adityanjee, welcome to Global Focus once again.
Thank you, Mr. Sinha, for inviting me again on this particular topic. It's timely because there were some demonstrations happening last week.
Yes, sir. So my first question to you, what are the underlying factors driving the renewed call for the restoration of monarchy in Nepal? What's your comment?
I think the immediate factor is that there's a lot of disillusionment with the current setup. As you know that in 2008, monarchy was abolished, and in 2015, a new constitution was promulgated. This new constitution changed the nature of Nepal from a Hindu nation to a secular nation.
Right.
Mind you, this was the only Hindu nation in the world.
Yeah. It was.
And because of international pressure and influence, it gave carte blanche to missionaries to start conversion process. Similarly, it gave permission to certain Muslim entities and groups
Yes.
start converting,
Mhm.
indigenous people to
Right.
Islam.
Right, sir.
And I think that is causing a little bit of resentment on the common man in Nepal.
Yes.
But there are deep rooted reasons. In Nepal, whenever there was an internal problem,
Yeah.
irrespective of the system of governance they had,
Yes.
they indulge in finger pointing
To India.
to India. So when there was monarchy
Mhm.
and when there were constitutional monarchy, different kings
Mhm.
or former kings,
Yeah.
under whatever system they had,
Yes.
whether it was panchayat system, absolute monarchy, then constitutional monarchy under King Birendra,
Yeah.
and subsequently constitutional monarchy followed by absolute monarchy under King Gyanendra.
Yeah.
The finger pointing was done at India for their domestic problems. And even after democratic setup after 2008, quote unquote, street revolution and abolition of monarchy,
Yeah.
the current bunch of politicians,
Mhm.
of whatever hue, whether they are communists
Yes.
or former Maoists,
Mhm.
communists led by KP Sharma Oli, the current prime minister,
Yeah.
former Maoist led by Pushkamal Dahal, aka Prachanda, or the Nepali Congress. They've always indulged in, blaming India for their domestic problems. And you can do that to a certain extent,
Yeah.
but ultimately, the population you are governing it is getting sick of these antiques and dramas.
Right.
In last 14, 15 years, there have been 17 governments in Nepal, despite democracy. So you cannot even blame A, India, B,
Yeah.
the former king.
Yeah.
If the Nepalese politicians were so savvy, so nationalist, so patriotic, they
Hmm.
would have grabbed this opportunity for good governance in Nepal.
Right, sir.
But they are all bunch of corrupt people.
Hmm.
They are trying to trade for personal advantages, political advantages. Who will become the prime minister? That has been the perennial question.
Yeah.
And pretty much all the time they've been playing China card against India.
Hmm.
So whenever KP Sharma Oli becomes the prime minister, his first pilgrimage is to China.
Yeah.
And at the instigation of China, his government is doing a lot of anti-India activities like printing new currency with disputed maps, claiming
Hmm.
parts of India.
Yeah.
So that has been a perennial thing.
Hmm.
What they have not done is good governance. What they have not done is creating jobs,
Yeah.
improving the livelihoods and standard of living of the people.
Hmm.
Nepal is a country where there are hardly any jobs, so young people are forced to migrate outside.
Yeah.
Obviously, they used to come to India for jobs and participation in Indian armed forces. Now, the last couple of years since the Agniveer scheme was started,
Hmm.
Nepalese government banned actually Nepalese people from enrolling in the Agniveer scheme, which is highly stupid because even if it is for 4 years,
Hmm.
that you plenty of money and options at the end of 4 years what you can do, and with a lump sum of cash,
Hmm.
but in their short-sightedness, they banned it.
Who banned? Government of India or government of Nepal?
Government of Nepal.
Okay.
So for educated youth or people who are just high school graduates, there are hardly any opportunities.
Right.
So they have to go to West Asia, take labor jobs, go to other countries. Educated people will go to West
Hmm.
and try to get jobs. So none of the young people want to stay in Nepal because of lack of jobs and lack of livelihood.
Yeah.
So there is a angst, discontent as to what this democratic system has brought about, and that has culminated in another pro-monarchist movement in Nepal since February 18th, when former King Gyanendra gave a speech and said that we want our country back. And in fact, one of the slogans by people was Raja Lao Desh Bachao.
Hmm.
That was the slogan. Uh, I would not put all the blame on former King Gyanendra because he's also a politician in his own way. Nepalese royals have played politics all the time, and former King Gyanendra is not blameless. But having said that, government also created problems because when people were demonstrating in Kathmandu peacefully,
Yeah. Yeah.
the police forces used excessive force and techniques to provoke.
Hmm.
Some houses were burned, cars were burned,
Hmm.
and people died. So I think both parties were at fault. Former King Gyanendra for being a little provocative in challenging the current system
Hmm.
and calling for maybe with one of the former royalist party, I think it's called Prajatantrik Party or something like that.
Mhm.
Usually in elections, the votes gathered by pro-monarchist forces is not very high, maybe 6-7%. But irony is that none of the political parties are able to gain majority, so then they indulge in horse trading,
Mhm.
negotiations, and contracts or understandings as to who's going to become prime minister for how many months. In this process, the entity that has gained is China, because these people have been playing India card, and in that process they have taken pro-China overtures. But China can only do so much. China is not able to absorb all the Nepalese youth that are without jobs
Mhm.
and offer them jobs.
Yeah.
But China keeps on exploiting these corrupt politicians into taking stringent anti Indian postures.
Mhm.
China was trying to hook them into BRI. Nepal is a country that did accede to BRI projects, but China was trying to retrospectively put certain completed projects under BRI
Mhm.
that was not acceptable to Nepalese system.
Mhm.
And the border issue with India on Kalapani and Limpidura and Lipu Lake, that has been again resurrected by the current Nepalese government under Chinese instigation. So China is almost, the Chinese ambassador works like or behaves like as Chinese viceroy in Kathmandu.
Mhm.
They take diktats from the Chinese ambassador.
Mhm.
Following this pro-monarchist demonstration, what you have seen is some sort of semblance of unity in the three warring parties: Nepalese Congress,
Yeah.
CPI, Communist Party of Nepal, and the former Maoists led by Prachanda. All of them have given public statements that they do not think monarchy can come back. The
Mhm.
government has taken stringent actions. They have downgraded the security of the former king. They
Mhm.
have impounded his passport so he cannot travel, and
Mhm.
they have imposed fines on him to the tune of maybe 4.5 lakh Indian rupees or around 5,000 US dollars for the damages done.
Mhm.
So government also is not handling the situation in a statesman-like manner.
Mhm.
So this problem will escalate, although there is no ground swelling of support from monarchist forces, pro-monarchist forces. But this kind of behavior does not augur well for the civil society there, because people are fed up with the current bunch of politicians also.
So, how would reinstating Nepal as a Hindu nation impact its diverse religious communities and the secular principles?
Look, Nepal was never a secular nation. Let's be very frank about it. It was always a Hindu nation.
Yeah.
And till even after abolition of monarchy in 2008, it remained a Hindu nation till the new constitution was promulgated in 2015. The common man is deeply religious. Hinduism constitutes a majority religion, which is around 81%.
Yes.
Around 9% of the people are Buddhist, around 5% follow Islam.
Mhm.
There's tiny 1.76% that follow Christianity. And then there are their, indigenous religion, Prakriti and the Tibetan religion called Bond religion. They are very small, less than 1%.
Okay.
So it is predominantly a Hindu nation. And it has always been a Hindu nation and had the unique distinction of being the only Hindu nation in the world.
So,
I can understand abolition of monarchy, but what is presumed that this quote unquote secular sort of cloak was imposed on Nepal by pro Western forces
mm,
that were supporting the communist former Maoists,
yeah,
you know, NGOs, American as well as British,
yeah,
who wanted to, make hay while sun shines, because then they gave carte blanche to missionary organizations to start converting the local people.
mm, mm,
These are called actually rice bag Christians because they were being given money to convert. And
yeah,
I think this is causing some sort of resentment in the local people.
yeah,
So it is predominantly a Hindu nation. It is still predominantly a Hindu nation, but conversion from either Hinduism or from the traditional indigenous religions into Christianity and Islam is
mm,
creating discord amongst the people. And that sentiment, I think, will continue. Though it may be small right now, but unless the situation changes, this will continue.
So, what role does former King Gyanendra Shah play in the current pro-monarchy movement, and what are the implications of his potential return to power?
Gyanendra, the former king, is a highly ambitious politician. That is number one. This is the I mean, Gyanendra has been the king of Nepal twice. Most of the people don't know that.
So,
He was the king of Nepal for a transient period as a child, I think 8-year-old child, when there were rebellions against the king. I think it was against King Tribhuvan, if I'm not wrong. I think in 1951, 52, I think the king had fled to India. And during that time, the child Gyanendra was sworn in as an interim king, though he was minor. And when the king was able to return back, I think there was a fight between the royal dynasty and the ruling premier dynasty of Ranas, who were the hereditary prime ministers. So you had a hereditary prime minister and you had a hereditary king, both by two separate dynasties, and there was fight between them.
yeah,
And the Ranas were trying to basically cause a rebellion against the king. So king left to India or was evacuated to India at that point in time.
mm,
Gyanendra as a child became the king. Now, after King Birendra's murder in 2001,
mm,
there was a royal palace massacre in 2001 in which King Birendra, his wife, Queen Aishwarya, and their children were killed by apparently by a prince under a drug crazed violent incident.
yeah,
A lot of people actually say that there were deeper forces behind that. But royal family, the younger generation, did not have very good reputation. Yeah. Apparently, the fight was about the prince who killed and
yeah,
was either eliminated or committed suicide. Again, there are questions whether he committed suicide by putting his gun to himself or he was killed by the conspirators. I think it was an issue about marrying his choice of girl, which king and queen did not want.
yeah,
That was a sensible story. But following that Narayan Hiti Palace massacre, Birendra died and Gyanendra became king. From 2001 to 2005, he ruled as basically constitutional monarch. In 2005, he, sacked the cabinet and sacked the parliament and declared that he was the absolute ruler.
Yeah.
And there were again some protests. So in 2006, he sort of, resurrected the parliament, but he had lost the momentum and
Mm.
people were turning against him.
Yeah.
And finally, in 2008, with the Maoist rebels and all, and
Mm.
People's Revolution, he was deposed and monarchy was abolished.
Mm.
So remember, this is a two-time king. This is a two-time former king, highly ambitious.
Yeah.
His elder brother became the king, although he might have felt that he had the right because he was formerly a king as a child. So you have to look at the psyche.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Gyanendra's son, Prince Paras, again does not have very good reputation.
I see.
There is some characterological issues, use of drugs, smuggling, womanizing, things like that. And royal family has basically also indulged in businesses of their choice, so they have made money.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it is doubtful if by these pro-monarchist agitations, Gyanendra will be able to come back to power. It is anybody's guess because of the bad reputation of the royal family. But definitely, if you see between 5 to 10% of people are pro-monarch in Nepal.
I
And
could.
one or two political parties are supporting this pro-monarchist movement.
Mm-hmm.
Now, interestingly, they are saying that they will prosecute Gyanendra for the two people who lost their lives in these agitations. But during the Maoist insurgency, 18,000 Nepalese actually lost their lives.
Right.
Push Kamal Dahal
Mm.
or Prachanda, which is his pseudonym or nom de guerre,
Mm-hmm.
he has never been prosecuted for murder of 18,000 Nepalese citizens.
Yes.
So there is hypocrisy everywhere, and ultimately it will depend upon who gets the upper hand. China is definitely playing a very crucial role in this process. India has taken a standoff approach, said that it is not us to decide. It
Mm.
is the internal matter of Nepal.
Yeah.
So India does not want, yet India is being blamed for this.
Yeah.
Nepalese Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli has already said publicly that India is instigating pro-monarchist agitation.
But I think that India must be playing behind the scene because this is a crucial matter for India.
Look, it may be a crucial matter for India. The bottom line is that there are no good actors in Nepal for India. All have played anti-India card in the past, including former King Gyanendra, including current bunch of politicians.
Mm.
So, you know, you have to deal with government in power,
Mm-hmm.
however bad it can be. You cannot trade one bad government for another bad government.
Right.
Whereas what China is trying to do is that they have -2 policy. So they are trying to have actually another leader
Mm.
and unification of communist parties into a single party,
Mm.
devoid of KP Sharma Oli and Prachanda.
Yeah.
So apparently, their nominee for prime ministership is former president, I think Vindeshri Devi something.
I see.
She was a former, she was a communist lady who
Mm-hmm.
was president of Nepal for 5 years.
Mm.
So that is China's nominee for prime ministership because they don't want these warring factions, warring leaders actually, not warring factions, because China knows
Mm.
that till these two people, KP Sharma Oli
Yeah.
and Pushp Kamal Dahal,
Mm-hmm.
aka Prachanda, are politically active,
Yeah.
they will not let anybody else come.
Mm-hmm.
They keep on bickering for prime ministership. So China is trying to bypass these two, have another rung of leadership so that communist parties can unify and they can win elections as a single party rather than having to indulge in coalition politics.
So has forward King Gyanendra expressed explicit intentions regarding his involvement in politics or the monarchy restoration?
Can you repeat your question, please?
Has former King Gyanendra expressed explicit intention regarding his involvement in politics or the monarchy restoration?
Yes, he has said that the system needs to change. We need to protect our nation,
Yeah.
and current system is not working.
Yeah.
You know, although these pro-monarchist movements were kind of spontaneous
Mhm.
and generated some enthusiasm, but the
Mhm.
government has been able to contain them.
So how?
The only possibility I see,
Yeah.
if the armed forces of Nepal
Yeah.
rebel against the democratic system or democrat leaders
Hmm.
and put their weight behind the monarchist movement and call for resumption of monarchy. I think that's the only condition where monarchy may be able to come back, establish a comeback. But till the armed forces, Nepalese armed forces, are firmly behind
Hmm.
civilian or democratically elected government, I
Yeah.
don't see possibility because they'll use the brute force of the state
Mhm.
to contain the demonstrators.
So how do various political factions perceive the possibility of the monarchy's return?
Well, they are dead set against it. You know that they have the experience of Gyanendra dismissing the parliament,
Mhm.
taking over direct reign of power from 2005 to 2008. And he was forced to actually resurrect the parliament in 2006. So they are very wary of Gyanendra. Gyanendra is not perceived very positively by political parties, except for the pro-royalist or pro-monarchist parties like Prajatantrik Party.
So how does the younger generation in Nepal perceive the movement for monarchy restoration and the establishment of a Hindu nation?
There is no unified sentiment. People are concerned with the current situation. Younger people are upset because they don't get jobs in Nepal. They have to go abroad to find jobs. In fact, you will find it very, very strange that in year 2022, Qatar was able to hold World Cup football. And Qatar basically is a desert nation
Yeah.
with 45 degrees centigrade temperature. And they had imported this cheap labor from Nepal and Sri Lanka and Bangladesh to construct the stadiums and infrastructure. Around 1,200 Nepalese people died, you know, because of maltreatment, abuse, heat, dehydration. Nepalese government did not do anything. It's shameful that on government to government level, they were not able to. In fact, at this point in time, one of the main source of, you know, foreign exchange for the government is remittances from abroad and Nepal's participation in United Nations peacekeeping forces. There are hardly any local industries. There are some projects, power projects from India and China
Mhm.
that generate some. And to ban recruitment of Nepalese youth
Mhm.
to Indian Army under Agniveer scheme is like cutting your nose to spite your face. You want to spite India because India brought a different method of recruitment to keep the soldiers who indulge in, firefighting of a younger age by having 4 years tenure, so that you are not like professional soldier for rest of your life
Yeah.
till you're 45 or 50 years old,
Yeah.
because reflex is slow, your physical prowess go down. So
Mm-hmm.
that's a good scheme. But Nepalese government, in order to spite Indian government,
Mm.
banned the recruitment of Nepalese youth. It was a wonderful chance, because after 4 years you have other options
Yes.
to get recruited into paramilitary forces, police forces, public sector,
Yeah.
uh, and undertakings, or go to college. And they were being given substantial chunk of money at the end of 4 years of recruitment,
Yeah.
despite getting your salary. So
Mm.
Nepalese government is doing everything that is anti-India, but ultimately harmful to the national interests of Nepal.
The
And
base
they are,
the
pardon?
yeah, the base part of Agniveer scheme is they are training the youth. When you come out of the after this retire after 4 years, na, you are trained and you have money. So that is the
You are trained, you have money, you have other career options.
yeah.
You get preferential access to recruitment in CISF,
Mm-hmm.
in things like BSF, all other paramilitary forces, including state police forces,
Right.
and some private entities also, and public sector undertakings. So 4 years of training, 4 years of salary, and this big chunk of money. I don't know whether it's 30 lakh or something like that at the end of 4 years.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, you can become an entrepreneur with that kind of money. You can start your own businesses in Nepal or something like that.
Yes. That
So
is.
it is ludicrous that in order to spite Indian government, Nepalese government banned it. So there is a lot of resentment in Nepalese youth,
Mm.
and there's only a limit to which you can continue to blame India. After a while, the local people will see the game of these corrupt, small, petty politicians who are continuously fighting, and you will see the same names,
Mm.
AP Sharma Oli and Prachanda since 2006 onwards.
Yeah.
Maybe Nepalese Congress has changed some, Sher Bahadur Duba and other people,
Yeah.
but you don't have any younger leadership coming up in the democratic system.
Right.
And there's certainly no reformist movement. There is no anti-corruption drive. All of them are corrupt, and so things are not so good for Nepal.
Yeah.
And the only victor in this scenario is China.
So, are there any notable youth-led initiatives either supporting or opposing the restoration of the monarchy?
Nothing is in an organized manner except for one or two political parties that have always been pro-royalist. Otherwise, there's nothing in an organized manner.
And how does the education system influence the younger generation's understanding of Nepal's monarchical history and current political discourse?
I am not very clear what is the domestic education system of Nepal is, whether they have changed the history, whether they want to, teach the history of royal family, things like that. I'm not aware of that, so I don't have any knowledge about it.
Okay.
But my understanding is that since the new constitution was abolished, the role of monarchy has been, the historical role of monarchy has been diminished. And even prior to that, as I was saying, there were fights between the royal family and the prime ministerial families that provided the head of the government,
Mhm.
the prime minister, the Rana dynasty. There have been fights, and Nepalese royal family, although it is used to be revered, it is not like Thai monarchy or Japanese monarchy that are, considered incarnation of gods.
So that was all for today. We are wrapping up the session. As Nepal grapples with these basic questions, the path ahead remains uncertain. The resurgence of monarchy and the demand for a Hindu nation reflect a broader struggle between tradition and modernity, nationalism and democracy. Whether Nepal chooses to restore its past or forge ahead with its republican system, one thing is clear: the voice of people will be the ultimate deciding factor in shaping the country's future. Will this movement bring stability and unity, or will it deepen the existing political divide? Only time will tell. So, thank you so much, all. Thank you for joining us. If you like the video, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, and share with your network. If you have any question on your mind, do share with us. We'll be answering those questions. So, thank you, Dr. Adityanjee. Thank you for a valuable time. It was nice talking to you.
Thank you, Mr. Sinan. In the remaining 1 minute, if I may,
Yeah,
Nepalese politicians and Nepalese government have been used by Pakistan's ISI,
I see.
use that country as a base against anti-India activities.
Yeah.
And you know about the famous Indian Airlines, plane
Hmm.
hijacking that was done from Nepal. The hijackers boarded from Nepal. So Nepal has to clean up its act entirely radically if they want to save their own country. There's no point pointing fingers at India. And whoever is governing Nepal, whether it is politicians, whether it's communists, whether it's the royalists,
Yes.
they need to focus on themselves,
Yeah.
do some introspection instead of being envious of India. Otherwise, maybe a future government of India may have to introduce visa system and not give easy entry to Nepalese citizens who
Right.
basically are treated at par with Indian citizens without any discrimination. So that may change in future if these people don't change their behavior.
Right. Right. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
very much indeed.